15-year-old Harvey Wilgoose, who was stabbed at school in Sheffield on Monday. Our reporter Anna Riley is there for us.
Hundreds of people have gathered here at St Joseph's Catholic Church in Handsworth to remember 15-year-old Harvey Wilgoose.
And this morning, the government denies that they are considering slavery reparations. It was previously reported a meeting with Caribbean leaders was on the cards. But this morning, the Foreign Office tells GB News that nothing is planned. We'll get all the latest.
And it's been another busy week for President Trump. As it emerges, he's set to revoke Joe Biden's security clearances, as well as stopping his daily intelligence briefings. Journalist Nelson Aspen will be joining us live from New York.
And one family is on a mission to change the law after the tragic passing of their 6-year-old son, Hugh. This week, 70 MPs from several different parties signed a letter to Labour ministers calling for a meeting to discuss Hugh's law. Hugh's dad, Kerry Monet Davis, will join us shortly.
And are we doing enough to support women's sport? After it emerged this week that one girls' football team was bullied for the way they looked. Former referee Janine Frampton will join us to discuss the state of the game.
And we will have all the day's top stories with columnist Jenny Trent-Hughes and former Apprentice star Trey Lowe. There they are.
Welcome to Saturday Morning Live, here only on GB News.
Very busy show this week, and as you can see, we've got a lot to pack in.
We have indeed.
Story about Hugh's law. That will be a really, really important story for us to cover. I want to make sure everyone stays tuned for that one.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't even imagine a parent losing a child the way that Kerry Monet Davis, the father of Hugh, will be joining us shortly in the studio. I can't even imagine what that family went through, and I think the work they're doing now to try and get more support for families who have got a child who they're having to take care of because they're sick, I think that's such important work.
And 70 MPs already signing that petition, so there's clearly some momentum there, and we'll talk to him a little bit about that later in the show. Of course, all our stories today, we want to hear from you, so we would love to hear what you think. Send us your views as usual. Post your comments, gbnews.com/your-say.
So much more to come, but before we do anything else, the lovely Sophia Wensler has all your news headlines.
Sophie, Adam, thank you. Good morning. These are your headlines from the GB Newsroom. Hamas has released 3 more Israeli hostages today in the 5th such swap of a fragile ceasefire in Gaza. The hostages are Ohad Ben Ami, Or Levi and Eli Sharabi. In return for the captives' release, Hamas said it expects 183 Palestinian prisoners to be freed. It comes as yesterday Hamas accused Israel of violating the ceasefire deal by delaying the entry of hundreds of aid trucks. The Foreign Office has denied reports it's set to open talks on slavery reparations, with Caribbean officials demanding trillions of pounds from the UK. According to the Telegraph newspaper, a meeting could be held as soon as April, after Barbados's Prime Minister, Mia Mottley, previously demanded almost £4 trillion from Britain. The Foreign Office has told GB News the story is false and misleading and insists the government's position remains unchanged. But the Foreign Secretary, David Lammy, has previously been vocal in his support. The King and Queen welcomed celebrities, chefs and diplomats to their Highgrove estate last night to celebrate Italians' slow cooking. The dinner, with dishes including crab, ravioli and pork, along with English and Italian wine, comes ahead of their Italian state visit later on in the year. Among the guests for Charles's and Camilla's event were Victoria and David Beckham, Dame Helen Mirren and Stanley Tucci, and the menu honoured a cause close to the King's heart. The tradition of slow cooking promotes the right to good, clean and fair food for all and strives to preserve traditional and regional cuisine and is championed by the Italians. Now, a mass is taking place at St Mary's Cathedral in Sheffield today to remember Harvey Wilgoose, who was stabbed at school on Monday. And later today, a march will take place throughout the city to remember the 15-year-old and raise awareness of knife crime. The The day of remembrance will culminate in a minute's silence at Bramall Lane this afternoon before the match between Sheffield United and Portsmouth. All reruns of old Gino D'Acampo shows have been pulled from the ITV schedule after allegations of inappropriate behaviour against the TV chef. A new series of Family Fortunes that was filmed in October 2023 has not been broadcast yet, and as it stands, there are no plans to do so. D'Acampo has been accused of making inappropriate sexual comments while working on a string of ITV programmes since 2011. Gino D'Acampo firmly denies any allegations that have been made against him. And a cold snap is sweeping in, with temperatures set to drop as low as -7 degrees over the coming days. Britain is bracing for showery rain, with a yellow weather warning in place across much of the country, and snow expected in northern England and Wales. The Met Office says demand for healthcare is likely to rise, but the return of the dreaded beast from the east is unlikely. Those are the latest GB News headlines. More in half an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alert by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Well, this morning, a mass is taking place at St Mary's Cathedral in Sheffield to remember Harvey Wilgoose, who was stabbed at school on Monday.
Yeah, and later today, a march will take place throughout the city to remember the 15-year-old and raise awareness of knife crime.
Yes, the day of remembrance will culminate in a minute's silence at Bramall Lane this afternoon before the match between Sheffield United and Portsmouth. And joining us now to tell us more about this story is GB News Yorkshire and Humber reporter Anna Riley. There she is. Anna, thank you so much for joining us this morning. What should we be expecting today?
Well, Sophie, we're currently here at St Joseph's Catholic Church for a mass that's currently being held in honour of 15-year-old Harvey Wilgoose. Tragically, he lost his life at All Saints Catholic School on Monday afternoon. He was fatally stabbed, went to school and never came home, and the community has truly been in grieving since the loss of Harvey, a 15-year-old boy who cannot be named for legal reasons, has been charged with murder, affray and possession of a knife. He will appear later in court later this year with those charges. Now, the community has really come together in mourning and also in of Harvey, that being shown by this mass that's currently going on. Hundreds of people have been going into the church behind us, in which a prayer will be read. This church has been picked in particular because it's linked to St Joseph's Academy, where Harvey went as a young boy to learn, and it's also got ties with All Saints Catholic Church as well, so that's why the mass has been picked here. And it's clear throughout the week since this tragedy happened that the coming together of the community, floral tributes being laid outside Harvey's school, including cards, balloons, candles, also being laid at Sheffield United Football Club as well. Harvey was a big football fan, a big Sheffield United fan, so many people gathering there as well to pay their respects, as well as laying floral tributes outside his home. And in those tributes that have come in from his family, from his friends, they describe just how loved Harvey was, what a fantastic young boy he was, how much he loved his school, his friends, and people coming together to honour that. There'll be a march throughout Sheffield today. That's an anti-knife crime march, as well as people coming together to remember Harvey. They'll be wearing the colours of Sheffield United, red and white, and that will go through to the Sheffield United Football Club at Bramall Lane, where there'll be a match at 3 o'clock against Portsmouth, and during that match, on the 15th minute of the game, there'll be claps for Harvey in his memory. His family have also been invited to lay a wreath during that game, and we'll be following that throughout the day.
Anna, thank you so much for that 15-minute clap, obviously, because he was 15 years old when he tragically lost his life earlier this week. Thank you very much, Anna. Now, to look through the top stories of today, we're going to be joined by columnist and broadcaster Jenny Trent-Hughes and former Apprentice star Trey Lowe. But before we do, we want to introduce a new feature here on Saturday Morning Live, Peak of the Week. Adam, would you like to explain what this feature is?
So, OK, Peak of the Week. What is Peak of the Week? Well, it is a small little bit of good news that you've had in your week that we can share with the rest of the viewers, the people on the couch. We can have a little bit of a... spread the love. Share the good news.
Yeah, so whatever your peak moment is of the week, we want you to share yours, as we say, and if you want to do so, you can email in at gbviews@gbnews.uk. Send us your pictures. Send us your best moment of the week. I think we can do yours first. Adam's peak of the week, the first one.
OK, so my peak of the week is I had a fantastic full English breakfast for the low, low price of... There it is. Right, there it is. This cost me... that is a bargain. Now, controversially, I got this in the House of Commons cafe, so I think it only came to about £6. And you might ask yourself, why is that so cheap? Why are our MPs gorging themselves on delicious food for such affordable prices?
Why are our journalists?
Important. The journalists must be well nourished. I love that.
So it can be something like that. I mean, my peak of the week, on Sunday of last week, I went to the Strictly tour at the AO Arena with my mum. There's a picture I took there of the dancers performing for us, and that was a really, really amazing experience to get to do that with my mum, who we're both huge Strictly fans.
Yeah, yours slightly more culturally fulfilling than mine, I'd argue.
Yes. More sentimental as well, perhaps. But there we go. It can be anything, whatever it might be. We want to know what your peak of the week is. And now it's bringing our panellists. Trey, your peak of the week?
Do you know, I think it was watching myself on episode 2 of The Apprentice. But it's just so weird, like, when you're on the show, it is probably the hardest thing you could ever do. So watching myself go in for this new bunch of contestants and speaking to them, all of these feelings came through, you know, being able to also impact them and make a difference and watch it was incredible.
I like that one.
Yeah.
I'm feeling a bit silly with my peak of the week.
Yeah, with your fried breakfast. Jenny, your peak of the week?
I live on a boat. And yesterday it was getting dark and my water tank was empty and the wind was blowing and the boat was coming untide. So and the boat weighs 27 tons.
Wow.
27 tons and is 60 feet long. And so I managed to fill the water tank and tie and retie the front and the back at the same time. Go, Jenny.
Wow.
Peak of the week.
She wins. She wins the peak of the week.
Well, we want to hear your peak of the week as well. If you live on a boat and you've managed to be really rather impressive, or have you had a lovely full English breakfast? We want to know. Send them in, gbviews@gbnews.uk. And we'll be looking at some of them later on in the show, so make sure you get them in. Should we talk about some news?
Yes.
Why not?
Yes.
Do that.
Trey, can we start with you? Because we were just talking about this during the break, this story that's on The Independent. Tell us about what you've seen there.
So this is annoying because this week I've had my car broken into by guys that were on bikes. It was in a very lovely part of town. I wasn't expecting. I had my laptop in the back of my car. Apparently, they were seen by everyone, CCTV, everyone saw them in the car and looking at it with a torch because you can't see into the back.
Yeah.
Came to it and everything smashed. And when I see this story, and we've all seen the images, isn't it, them on bikes, it's like, where's the police? Where's the law and order?
Exactly. So the headline is shocking scale of phone thefts revealed. I'm sure everyone, particularly if you live in London, is familiar with this story by now, unfortunately.
Average of 225 stolen a day. A day.
Yeah,
that's
crazy.
Well, the reason this is not personal to me, right, but it did happen to me last year, and it happened to someone I saw, a woman on on the street a couple of days ago. So I've seen it in the last few days. I've seen it. They all, it's all the same modus operandi. They're always on the same sort of e-bikes. It looks the same. Dressed completely in black.
They dressed like for combat or something.
Yeah, they're like vultures. Circling around looking for people. So you must never ever, unfortunately, you must never have your phone out in London. You can't.
And they seem to go for easy targets. You know, women, but on their own, or tourists, and it's like
earphones in.
That makes it worse. At least pick on someone that might be able to chase you down. Maybe at least, you know, something.
That's not part of the game.
I know. 70 miles an hour. I'll have to be Usain Bolt or something like that.
Jenny, what can we do to tackle this issue, do you think? What needs to happen?
OK, I'm going to say something slightly controversial.
Oh, we love that on Saturday Morning Live.
We need to stop walking around all the time with our phones attached to our hands. I mean, that is also part of the problem. The last time this was a big story, which was about a month ago, I got on the tube and I looked in front of me and there were 19 people in front of me in the car. 18 of them were clutching their phones.
Was the other one asleep?
And, yeah, exactly. The other one actually was asleep. Yeah.
I had to make a joke.
And the thing is that most people weren't even doing anything. So it's not like they were playing Scrabble, you know, I don't know, or whatever. They're just holding them like this. And it had been all over the news this morning, don't have your phone out.
So we should be allowed to have our phones.
Well, we should be allowed to
I
do
also get
lots of
nervous about
things.
having it in my bag, because what if someone runs off with my bag?
But see, that's the problem.
I
You
know.
shouldn't be nervous. There should be law and order enough where you could have your phone that you've worked hard and bought, have a nice watch if you have it. Why should we be scared?
There shouldn't be an expectation that it's going to be stolen if you just use your phone.
I know.
I'll say London is the worst. When I'm
London is the worst.
back at home, I'm not constantly thinking. I can walk around quite freely in Manchester, Liverpool. When I'm in London, the second I get off that train at Euston, I am clutching it with everything I got.
There are real ramifications, because a lot of tourists are being told now that London's a no-go zone. Your watch is going to get taken off you, your phone's going to take... I mean, we should be a city that is inbound with tourists and inward
but
investment.
how? We understand that it should be that way. How do we get it that way?
Undercover police officers, hot-spotting areas. I mean, this is something that the Met is doing now.
Yeah,
they're
talking
more
about it,
resources to it.
Yeah.
They should.
They also need to make it more difficult. I think it's also incumbent upon the phone companies to make it more difficult for a stolen device to be useful. I mean, you can wipe it, but I don't know.
You don't want to lose everything.
Well, it's like your computer. It's like your computer. What are they going to do with your computer?
They will sell those components, fine. But also e-bikes, isn't it illegal to actually soup them up and get them to go 70 miles an hour? So who's doing that? That should be made illegal, right?
Yeah, that is illegal.
They're already criminals. Shall we move on to another story, though? I'm going to make sure we have time for this other one. On the Telegraph today, Labour Council bans any flowers on graves a week after the funeral. That's Nottingham City Council. Jenny, that's shocking, isn't it?
It's for me, it's incredibly sad.
Yeah.
Because if you put yourself in the space of someone who's been married to somebody for 40 years, and the person's died, and it's the end of the world for them, and then they have to mark on their calendar, go move the flowers 1/2 Tuesday. How on earth can you do that? And when I read the story, I started thinking, okay, what is this about? And I realized that they're probably getting rid of the people who maintain the cemeteries. And so that's why they want you to go and pick up your own dead flowers. And I think it is absolutely inexcusable. And they would just have to lock me up or whatever it is that they're going to do to people.
Well, it's not just after the funeral, is it? It's people would go perhaps on the anniversary mark of a loved one's death. It's, grief doesn't just end a week after you...
Well, then, and then how are they going to know? Is there going to be somebody going around with a clipboard saying, OK, so these flowers, this is Tuesday, we're going to come back next Tuesday and check? Then they might as well just have somebody who take away the dead flowers.
Have Nottingham Council said anything, do we know, Trey? In the story, is there anything that Nottingham Council...
I don't think they haven't offered any real explanation, isn't it, from what we see on this story? I mean, it was the 5th anniversary of my brother's passed, and I literally went there last week to put flowers on there, and the thought of someone coming to me and saying, you've got to come take them off. I mean, can you imagine?
It's the person that's most vulnerable, isn't it? And saying that to them in a graveyard.
Why? It's flowers. I mean, it's biodegradable. I mean, what harm is it causing?
Exactly. I was just going to say, we've got a right of reply from Nottingham City Council. They've said, we fully appreciate that this is a sensitive situation, and we have been working with families for a number of years now and discussing options with them. There are 2 types of graves at our cemeteries: traditional graves that can have a headstone and a larger curb set, and lawn graves which only allow headstones or an option for a smaller curb set surround. All grave owners are made aware of the rules about unofficial memorials and trinkets. This information is in the deed pack, which is issued when a grave is purchased.
I mean, that's bureaucracy gone mad,
this
isn't
is
it?
the hardest time in someone's life, perhaps losing someone, and to be told the information is in the deed pack. That blows my mind.
I mean, because it then also makes me think of when you go and there are babies buried there, and there's like a little teddy bear, so I guess that's not going to be allowed either.
No, apparently not.
We've got time for one more quick story, guys. So where do you want to jump to next? What's caught your eye this morning?
We can talk about the phone boxes, because I didn't necessarily know much about that. But I mean, I think the thing that jumps out at me for that is I understand the elderly villagers. So I try and teach my mum and dad how to use technology. It's an impossible task. I think as a society, we're just moving forward at breakneck speed, but no one's thinking about people who are older, who don't understand smartphones, who want the familiarity of these, you know, and they're very lovely looking phone boxes, right? Why can't we keep a couple of them? Yeah, there's only a few calls that happen in these phone boxes, but why not? There might be an emergency and someone needs it.
Yeah, Trey, should we just read the headline as well for viewers who might not have seen it? So this is in the Mail Online, isn't it? It's villagers at war with BT over a phone box, and they're trying to save their red phone box from the council. They want it to be a working phone, as you say, so that those who are more familiar with
can use it if needs
can
be.
use it.
Yeah.
I will say, though, that particular phone box only made 9 calls last year. 9.
Well, you see, the thing that I don't understand is, so because I live out in the countryside, I see lots of these library phone boxes and stuff, and they're really wonderful, and they're really used a lot.
Defibrillators as well, often they can have, well, can't they?
Yeah.
So why can't they just take, you know, the other kind of payphone and just put it on a wall outside the post office or whatever?
It's tradition, isn't it?
You know,
British tradition.
It's tradition.
Yeah, but don't get rid of the phone box and have a phone. So that way, the 9 phone calls that need to be made a year, they have someplace to make it, and the red phone box gets to stay
that's
and looks
retained as a
pretty.
piece of history.
Exactly.
And the history side of it is really important, you know. I don't think it's just be discarding stuff.
No.
Because people even are not using it.
I see both sides.
Yeah.
Right, guys, thank you very much. Trey, Jenny, we're going to come back to you later in the show with more headlines.
Well, up next, we'll be joined by Kerry Davies, the man who is trying to change the law with the help of his local MP after his 6-year-old son, Hugh, tragically passed away of cancer. This is Saturday Morning Live on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Bev Turner. Thank you for joining us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. I mean, maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Now, after moving to the UK from Kochi in Japan over 25 years ago, our next guest missed the taste of home and started making sushi with local ingredients.
Yes, Tomono Davies went on to establish Tomono Sushi Party, inspired by her mother's dedication to cooking fresh meals every day.
Now, while sushi is usually enjoyed in restaurants in Japan, Tomono is showing that anyone can create it at home. So here we go. She's already taught over 500 people and is now bringing her passion to even more people.
So she joins us now in the studio to give us one of her sushi masterclasses. First of all, we're a little bit nervous. We're certainly not pros. I love eating sushi, but certainly not making it.
As long as you follow my instruction, it should be that easy.
Okay, great. That's what we like to hear.
So tell us a little bit about your business and why we're here today.
Of course. So my name is Tomono Davies. I'm originally from the place called Kochi, as you mentioned, and I'm the founder and the owner of Tomono Sushi Party. So we bring authentic, hands-on sushi making classes to homes, offices in London and home counties. Also, we run public classes, the information which you can find on my website.
Yep.
So this goes all the way back in 90s, actually, when I was a student.
Never.
The Japanese food wasn't widely available, but I really craved a beautiful, you know, aromatic aged sushi, Japanese food. And when you're craving something, you started making your own at home. And I fell in love with the Englishman. He brought me back to UK. Then that's the time more people start asking me, can you teach me how to make sushi?
The People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Andrew Pearce. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
actually going to share what we
good
just spoke
morning
about.
and welcome back to Saturday Morning Live. Don't forget to keep sending me and Adam your views about the topics this week. A lot of you getting in touch already about that conversation we just had with our panel guests about e-bike phone theft.
Yeah.
Let's see. We'll see. Grumpy Grandad says, no, we should be able to walk about using our phones safely. The police have lost control of our streets. That's the truth of it.
But what's interesting is we've had a few people, so Lee saying he is inclined to disagree with you, Sophie, because he says Manchester is no different to London. We were talking about London specifically and just before the break, but lots of you saying it's a problem nationwide, actually. So lots
fair
to be done
enough, Lee,
there.
if that's the experience you've had. Absolutely fair enough.
Yeah.
We've also had quite a few of you getting in touch with your peaks of the week, which we love to see.
Yes.
This is our new feature, as we were saying earlier. We want to hear about your peak moment of the week. A lovely one from Marianne here. She says, my granddaughter Freya celebrated her 18th birthday along with her mock A-level results, B in arts, A in English and an A-star in politics. Very proud. Freya might be coming for your job, an A-star in politics. Well done, Freya.
I got
Thank
an
you,
A.
Marianne.
I got an A.
Oh, there you are.
I'm finished.
That's it. Freya's coming in. And then we've got another lovely one here from Anne. A bit strange, but my peak of the week was being told my newly diagnosed cancer hasn't spread to my lymph nodes, so treatment won't involve chemo after previously having had it.
Wow.
I can say it's very unpleasant, and we are so thrilled for you. That really is a brilliant peak of the week, and that is exactly what we want to hear. Please keep sending them in. We want to make sure that we can share all of your peaks of the week. So thank you very much for those.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Now, our next guest is on a mission to change the law following the tragic passing of his son in 2021.
Yeah, Hugh Manai Davies passed away not long after his 6th birthday on the 18th of September 2021 after being diagnosed with a rare form of cancer.
Well, since then, Hugh's parents have been on a mission to honour their son and help other parents in similar situations, setting up the charity It's Never You.
Well, the next step for them is to change the law. So to tell us a little bit more about that now, Kerry Manai Davies is joining us in the studio. Kerry, thank you so much for taking the time to come and join us. I want to ask you first a little bit about your story, and I want to pay a little bit of tribute to Hugh, your son.
Yep. So Hugh went through lockdown with him, and in October half-term 2020 he felt unwell.
We're just seeing Hugh on screen, just to say that, I believe. Such gorgeous pictures.
Yeah, set me off early in the morning. No.
Oh, sorry.
No, I'll be all right. Don't worry, no. So, yeah, Hugh fell ill on October half-term 2020 out of nowhere, and we went from having, we thought was appendicitis, to being told he had cancer within about 24 hours, and he started treatment sort of initially straight away, and Hugh went through 6 months of intensive treatment, and it's so hard on the kids, and also really, obviously hard on the parents as well. And then he breezed all the way through it, and he rang the bell in May 2022, which was one of the 2021, which was one of the things that you want to see the most for your child, and you walk past it every day in the hospital and you see it, and you just can't wait for the day that he rings it. And then sadly, he hit his 6th birthday on the 30th of August, which was my wedding anniversary. And 2 weeks later, or a couple of days later, he sadly relapsed and he passed away on the 18th of September. So. Yeah, tragic. He left his younger brother as well, Rafe, and we have little Jude now as well at home. But yeah, since Hugh passed away, we decided to set up something to give back. We set up It's Never You. Those were the first words my wife spoke to me when Hugh was diagnosed. You always think it's someone else, it's never you.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there'll be people watching today, never think it'd be them, and I was the same, never thought it'd be me or my son or my wife. And and so we're always going to do something, and then we set up It's Never You, and then campaigning for Hugh's Law now.
So just tell us a little bit about the work, specifically the charities that we mentioned, the petition, you're going to Parliament with this. What's happening there?
So we recognise that when a parent has a sick child, different to what the new neonatal bill's just come into effect with, is that when a child is born sick in the neonatal bill, they're offered protection and workers' rights and employment from day one. But if your child becomes sick, then you're entitled to nothing. So the charity was set up to support the parents of children with cancer. We experience that the children get everything quite right, everyone's going through it, but the parents don't really seem to get anything. And whilst the consultant comes and asks in the morning, how's the child, they don't see, how are you? And that's one of the things that we want to do with the charity. And what we saw, and when we've spoken to loads of parents, is that there is a complete lack of any financial support for parents. Current situation is that you have to wait 90 days before you can even apply for disability living allowance, even if your child is diagnosed with cancer, which we think is completely unfair, and the parents that we've spoken to completely unfair.
Yeah.
And so we've pushed the Hughes Law, which is a recognition that day one financial support is needed, and to mirror the same as what the neonatal bill was doing, and also maternity pay, because you need constant parental presence for both. You need a parent to be by the bedside of a child, so why can't you offer the same sort of support when a child is sick? And it's not like we want to be in this position. And these aren't parents that have lost their job the day before. These are parents that are walking into it having a job. They're middle-income families. Universal credit doesn't support them, and they're left with nothing. And it's up to the employer to be compassionate to help them. So Hughes Law tries to set that straight. And we've campaigned tirelessly now for 2 years, and we're making headway now. We've been offered another meeting with the Minister, Sir Stephen Timms, next month. We have 73 MPs now signed a cross-party letter calling for Hughes Law to be implemented, which is big, which was sent by our MP Chris last week. And yeah, a petition was launched, and it's within 6 days reached 10,000 signatures. So on all levels, they've got to answer us somehow.
I just want to ask a bit more about yourself. So when Hugh was diagnosed, obviously, what did you and your wife do about caring for him? I assume you found yourself in this exact situation, and that's why you're so passionate about it.
Yeah, we went through it in the second lockdown. Yeah. So we see that obviously all the jobs were shut down anyway when I was going through it. And Hugh started chemo on the 1st of November, which was, I think, the actual day the second lockdown happened. But you can see furlough coming into your bank account. So you can actually be away from work and actually see furlough coming to your account. And some of the parents were in that position in hospital could see, actually, they're off work anyway, but they're still getting paid to be in hospital. But when lockdown stopped, we saw parents all over the place with their jobs. But, during lockdown, it was hard for my wife and I because we'd be like ships in the night. We'd never really see each other. And Hugh was in hospital for nearly about 7 weeks, needing treatment to get him back to a position where he could come home after being so unwell. And we do 7 days on, 7 days off most of the time. And unfortunately, my wife she had the main brunt of the bad news to start with, and she took everything for the first 7 days, which I don't know how I would have handled that, but she was a machine doing it.
I can't even imagine.
And there's parents every day do the same. And, it's one of those things, how do you get through it? Well, you've got no option as a parent because your child wants to see a mum and dad at the end of the bed, positive, smiling, happy, to reassure them. It's the same as a flight attendant on a plane. I don't like flying. If you see them running around the plane looking panicked, you're going to be panicked as well. So for us as parents, and all these parents that we support and pushing for, they've got to be so strong.
I was going to ask about the work you do with the other parents, because as you say, the charity is called It's Never You, so it's all about how alone the parent must feel. So the sort of pastoral side of this, of reassuring parents that they're not alone, must be very important to you and the charity.
Yeah, definitely. So the first thing that we did was, everything's on your phone nowadays, and when they give you all the information about your child being diagnosed with cancer or your child being sick of any illness, they give you everything really quickly. And you're there trying to process it, and half the time you come out of the room not even knowing what your name is. And, they're trying to tell you all this thing, and they're trying to tell you all this information, and you've got to sign, and as it's a child, you've got to sign all these documents away to say you agree to all this treatment that they're having. But one of the things we did, we set a social media platform up called the Children's Cancer Platform, where parents could go away from Facebook, away from Google, because it's not the best place to be to type in your child has cancer, what's the next step on Google, which is you can get some misinformation on there. So we're free to use platform. We have nearly 600 parents using now currently all around the country, where they can share tips, experience, stories with them. We have sadly newly diagnosed parents, sadly bereaved parents on there, and they're sharing their journey, which is something that we were so keen on to start with.
Kerry, I just want to finally ask you, if anyone out there is in a similar situation to the ones you've just described, where can they go and where can they find out more information about the charity and the petition? Yeah,
of course. So you can check us out on our website, itsneveryou.com. We're quite active on social media on Instagram, it's.neveryoucharity. And you can download the Children's Cancer Platform on Apple and Android and contact us through there.
And get some more support.
Get some more support.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for sharing yours and your family's story. Really heartbreaking, but so great that you've done something with it. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks, Gary. Appreciate it. Up next, we're going to be going stateside to catch up with what's been a very busy week, another busy week for President Trump, with journalist Nelson Aspen. This is Saturday Morning Live on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's a cold weekend with easterly winds, grey skies and a mix of rain and sleet in many areas. Although there will be a touch of frost and some sunshine first thing across the north and west of Scotland, parts of Northern Ireland also getting off to a chilly start. But for the rest of the UK, we've got plenty of grey skies this morning. Low cloud, mistiness and outbreaks of rain and sleet moving northwestwards across parts of England, Wales and then into parts of Northern Ireland later. Some brightness into the southeast towards the end of the day, but we've got this cold easterly wind, so although temperatures won't fall that far compared with the last few days, it will feel more raw with that easterly, particularly around the coast of the North Sea. But like I say, there will be some clear spells through East Anglia, central, southern and southeastern England. A few showery bits and pieces of rain and sleet. Likewise for parts of Wales into the north of England. But for much of Scotland, Northern Ireland, we keep predominantly clear spells by the end of the day. Although eastern Scotland will be affected by a thickening of the cloud and some showers moving in from the North Sea. Where we do have the clear skies across western Scotland and parts of Northern Ireland, 1 or 2 breaks elsewhere, temperatures will fall away overnight, a touch of frost once again, but actually for the vast majority it will be too cloudy and too breezy for a frost. So although a cold start to Sunday and another grey start to the day, temperatures broadly 2 to 4 Celsius. We've also got further showery rain and sleet, particularly across eastern parts of the UK on Sunday, as the easterly picks up a bit of strength once again. But wrapped up in this easterly is some milder air, so mostly anything falling out of the sky will be rain rather than sleet or snow. And there will be some brightness for western and more especially northwestern parts of the UK, with temperatures at around average 6 to 8 Celsius. Colder again on Monday with some wintry showers in the east.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
Will, please bring us up to date.
or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
So as we sit in Captain Tom's room, how has this whole experience left you in terms of financially and also mentally?
Thank you for asking the question, because the reality is that this has been devastating on a personal level, emotionally, financially. To have a reputation that you build up over decades and it can be demolished so quickly, that's exactly what's happened.
Well, good morning and welcome back to Saturday Morning Live with me, Sophie, and the fabulous Adam and Cherry. Now, a lot of you have been getting in touch about that interview we just did, that really heartfelt interview with Kerry Minai Davis about the work of the charity after he lost his son to cancer. We've got Vanessa B saying 100% of parents with children with cancer or other serious illnesses should be entitled to benefits so they do not have to work during their child's illness. Who would want to leave their child's side when they were so ill? I completely agree with you, Vanessa.
Yeah, Kerry spoke about that very eloquently as well, didn't he? So Steve Morgan agrees as well. He says, Hughes Law, you fight the fight. I wish you and others like you the best of luck. God bless you all. So lots and lots of comments in supportive of the work that Kerry and the charity is doing. So that was really moving interview, actually. But moving on, because it has been yet another busy week for President Trump, when is it not? As he continues to issue a wide range of executive orders, including this week banning transgender athletes from women's sport.
Overnight, though, on his Truth Social platform, the president announced that he was revoking former President Joe Biden's security clearances and stopping his daily intelligence briefings, saying in the post, Joe, you're fired.
Well, the former president's office, that was Joe Biden's office, has declined to comment. So let's talk to Nelson Aspen, who joins us now. Nelson, this is sort of tit for tat, isn't it? Because Joe Biden did exactly the same to President Trump when he was leaving his first term.
Well, you know I will never decline to comment. And while you may think it is tit for tat, because as you say, President Biden revoked when it was former President Trump, revoked Trump's security clearance and intelligence briefings because Biden claimed that Trump couldn't be trusted not to slip up and reveal confidential information. And it has been established in the Her report that Joe Biden suffers from a poor memory. And that is part of Trump's justification for revoking the security clearance and daily intelligence briefings, also saying on Truth Social, quite simply, I don't trust him to safeguard national security. And in true Trumpian style, he, of course, had to add, you're fired. So that was the latest Trump salvo overnight, because he works so fast that not only the media, but his opponents are scrambling to keep up with him. Personally, I'm delighted by the fact that President Trump is making plastic great again. So I'm having my breakfast juice with a plastic straw.
Yeah, that's right. We were discussing that earlier with our colleagues.
Yeah, I was going to say, make sure that you vote on the GB News poll of the day, plastic versus paper straws here in the UK. Nelson, I want to ask you about another big story from the US this week, and that's that President Trump has signed executive orders relating to trans athletes competing in female sports. What's been going on there?
This became a small problem that became a huge headline by the involvement of having transgender participants in female sports. Some females were getting injured. Some females were upset about the presence of transgender individuals in the locker rooms with them. So President Trump, deeming it a matter of common sense, signed this executive order effectively banning transsexuals from women's sports. No men in women's sports. He claims that's common sense, and federal funding can now be withheld from any organizations who do not comply. Interestingly, almost immediately coming to the table was the National Collegiate Athletic Association, who have officially endorsed the ban, followed the ban, and that's what's going on. And with the sweep of his executive pen, Trump enacted the executive order surrounded by young female athletes, young women, young girls. It was one of those amazing photo ops that will become an indelible part of the Trump presidency, right up there with him serving French fries or driving the garbage truck. There he was, seeming very much like the grandfather of the nation, surrounded by these young people, very enthusiastically pleased with his decision.
Yeah, Nelson, where did the Democrats go on this issue after this? Because they are really the ones who have brought this into the front of political consciousness, if you like. How do they respond on it? Because it seems that this will be a popular move with the US public.
Well, and what's going to be interesting to see is how it goes over with the Olympics. You know, how will this affect Olympic participation for men in women's sports? But Donald Trump's opponents, whether that's just the voters or his political opponents, are just losing their minds at the moment because of the speed with which he is enacting change. So every day they are scrambling to keep up, to counter it, to block it in the courts. And that can go from his decisions to take over the Gaza Strip, or to fire federal employees or put them on furlough, or to the USAID, AID organization that was established to help humanitarian causes, and they are cleaning house on all levels. So his opponents don't know where to look first.
Nelson, we're going to have to leave it there because we are running out of time. But thank you very much for joining us. Really appreciate it. That was Nelson Aspen there, live from the US. Now, still to come, are we doing enough for women's sport? Well, former referee Janie Frampton joins us next. But first, if you're in search of some winter sun, I think we both are, aren't we?
Aren't we always?
A little bit of sunshine. Well, good news. Here's the forecast for some of the top European holiday destinations.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you're looking for some winter sun, Spain wouldn't be a bad shout. Fine, at least for Sunday. Unsettled in Italy and reasonably breezy in Greece. We've seen that quite frequently recently, and with some showers to boot. But across Italy, well, that's where some more unsettled weather is heading, especially in the west, the north, and then Sicily through Sunday and into Monday. Iberia, fine for now, but it will turn more showery from the west as the week begins.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
Underestimate what you did, because to do it in their backyard as well, I bet they weren't happy about it, were they, Brad?
No, definitely not. Well, it makes it all the more sweeter. So they're usually pretty dominant in a two-man event, but four-man's usually where we can challenge them. And yeah, we managed to do it yesterday and put down 2 solid runs. And yeah.
So yeah, funding was a big issue for us in the last quad, but because of our results recently, we've picked up a lot more funding from UK Sport. So we're well funded now, and but yeah, the bob is in the back of the van behind us, so we're driving it down to St Moritz as we speak. So yeah, that's how it all works in the background in bobsleigh.
Brad, you're the pilot, correct? So you're up front.
Yeah.
Now, what happens? I always wonder, because I remember seeing John Noakes on. Do you remember John Noakes on Blue Peter when he fell out of the bob and he ended up showing the back of his backside on TV because he had a big scar on there? What? So you've got the brake man. You're at the front. So where are you then, Aaron? Are you what number are you?
So I'm number 3. Yeah.
Right. So what do you do there? Is it just a matter of it's the running power is what it's all about to get off to a good start, and then you can sit and enjoy the ride?
Yeah, that's it. So for number 2 and myself, number 3, it's all about getting that bob off the line and then just zipping it up to as high a speed as we can, basically. Getting in, staying low, having good aerodynamics, and staying still and let Brad do the work.
Yeah, it's definitely not a comfortable position for them, because we're bending them and twisting them into quite an uncomfortable position to get as aerodynamic as possible. And when you've got 6 times G's pushing you through that is not... Yeah, not
definitely
fun.
Stiff back this morning, that's for sure.
Because I'm just thinking where me and Eamon would sit. Is it 2 and 3, or would he go at number 4? What do you fancy?
I would be too frightened to do that.
GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back to Saturday Morning Live. Now, lots more peaks of the week. Is it peak of the week? Peaks of the week.
Peaks of the week.
Peaks of the week. Yeah. Lots of them coming in.
Our new segment here on Saturday Morning Live.
Yeah, we were saying we want music, fireworks, everything for all this.
The full shebang.
The full shebang. Now, Helen, congratulations to Helen, because she says the highlight of my week is I just got a new job. Bring it on. Congratulations, Helen.
Congrats,
well done.
Helen. We've also had Meryl saying, celebrating my husband's birthday at Mamma Mia, the party at the O2. That sounds like we've had quite a nice week, haven't we, Meryl? I went to Strictly, you've done Mamma Mia. Very nice.
I had a fry-up.
We won't talk about yours, Adam. Maybe Adam's homework for next week is to think of a more exciting peak of the week.
It was exciting. It cost me £6.
Then that's what's exciting, isn't it? It was so cheap.
Yeah.
No, I like that, because it shows that, you know, no matter what, you can always find a peak of the week.
That's it.
So do keep them coming in. We're loving hearing all of them coming in. And as we said, if we want fireworks on this segment, you've got to keep them coming.
Exactly. You've got to support the cause. Now, moving on, because are we doing enough to support women's sport? Well, this week, one girl's football team was bullied for the way they looked. So let's talk a little bit about this, Sophie. What's going on here?
Well, the all-girls York Railway Institute AFC team was playing in October last year when one 11-year-old with a short haircut scored a goal. The opposing team's coach and parents went on to question the girl's gender because of her haircut. So with that in mind, are we doing enough to protect women in sport?
Well, joining us now to discuss this is former referee and FIFA instructor Janie Frampton. Janie, thank you for joining us. I'm going to start with the big one. Are we doing enough on this? What more can be done to support women and girls in sport and also to encourage more participation?
Sure. You know, good morning, Adam, Sophie. Thank you for having me on. But this is ridiculous, because how are we ever going to encourage girls into sport that as soon as they don't actually comply with the stereotypical view that people have, they're challenged? You know, I refereed for 20 years in professional football and semi-professional football with short, spiky hair. And, you know, I loved it when players didn't realise I was a woman, because it meant I was doing my job. This young girl obviously scored a goal, did very well, and then automatically her gender is questioned. It doesn't say anywhere in the laws of the game that for a girl or woman to play football, she can't have short hair. We have to educate parents. This is ridiculous.
I was just going to say, I think you can see at one end of the spectrum with the women, the WSL. I was actually there a couple of weeks ago with my sister. We went to Stamford Bridge to watch Chelsea play Arsenal. And I have to say, they sold out the entirety of Stamford Bridge. Yeah. So you can see at one end of the spectrum that they're really starting to get a lot of traction. But then you hear stories like this at a grassroots level, and it's just, it's really upsetting, isn't it?
Sophie, we've just got to stop this. We've got to stop this stereotypical. OK, we see lots of girls with ponytails and buns and long hair. Great. But it doesn't say you have to look a particular way before you can or cannot play football, or you are challenged to be showing your registration. This is outrageous. And I think parents need educating just to get off of their unconscious bias.
What would that look like in your view, that sort of education? How would you implement that?
I think you've got to look at having an integrated environment for football where we celebrate difference, we celebrate disability, we celebrate neurodiversity, we celebrate gender. We've got to stop beating it up if you're not complying with male adult football or white male adult football, even worse. But there are so many different forms of football out there that we need to be able to say football is for all, because that's the strapline, but it's not for all the time that we're having ridiculous challenges to a girl of 11 who chooses to wear her hair short.
Janie, I want to ask you, I know that you reffed professionally in the men's game. What kind of experience did you have as a female referee?
You haven't got time for that one, Sophie.
I can imagine.
Honestly, the misogyny, the questioning, the challenges. I mean, I can remember taking my 10-year-old daughter to a high-level semi-professional men's game, and this guy kept calling me a dyke. Well, he certainly wasn't referring to a little stream in the field. And I had to explain to my 10-year-old daughter what a dyke was, which I shouldn't have to do for her to actually enjoy watching football.
Jenny, we're going to leave it there, but thank you very much for joining us live on GB News. And of course, we will.
You're very welcome. Have a good day.
Thank you. We just apologise for that language there, but it's a feisty debate, isn't it, of course, now?
It's shocking, really.
Yeah.
Now, we've got lots more to come on Saturday Morning Live for you, including our showbiz selection. We'll be speaking to Steph Tetchy, won't we?
We will indeed. And here's the big news. We'll also be celebrating the start of National Pizza Day, which is tomorrow. So don't go anywhere. Lots still to come.
And send us your peaks of the week.
And those peaks of the week.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, this is your latest GB News weather update provided by the Met Office. It is a rather dull and drab start to the weekend for many of us. We've got high pressure situated across Scandinavia that's acting as a blocking system, and it's allowing these areas of low pressure just to push into the very far south, providing some outbreaks of rain and drizzle in places today, a few showers skirting in across other eastern coastal areas as well. There is a potential for some winteriness in amongst all of this, hill snow generally, but to lower levels we may see a touch of sleet in places. As all of this system continues to push its way northwards, we may just start to see a few sunnier spells developing across the very far southeast of England later on in this afternoon period. But underneath the cloud, it is going to be feeling rather cold for many of us, temperatures struggling much above 4 or 5 degrees Celsius in places. The best of the sunshine today is certainly going to be reserved for areas further towards the northwest, particularly for parts of western Scotland. Quite a nice sunny day to come here. But where we'll hold on to those clear skies overnight, we do bring the risk of some fog patches developing, but also quite a sharp frost forming again across northwestern Scotland, potentially as low as -8 degrees Celsius in the most sheltered rural spots. We could also see some patchy frost across the far south of England as well, where we see those clear spells just holding on throughout the night as well. If you do hold on to the cloud, though, temperatures will generally be more on the positive side of the temperature scale, 3 or 4 degrees Celsius. As we head throughout Sunday, it is a reasonably similar day overall. Again, there's going to be quite a lot of cloud, particularly across the central areas, with the best of the sunshine reserved for the northwest, but also now into parts of the southwest as well. Devon and Cornwall seeing a brighter and sunnier day here. It is once again going to be feeling particularly cold underneath that cloud, and with the outbreaks of rain still in play. 6 or 7 degrees Celsius, but with a bitingly easterly wind moving its way in, it's going to be feeling even colder than that. And we hold on to a very similar pattern into the start of the new week as well. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
We're doubling your chances to win in our latest Great British giveaway, with 2 fabulous prize bundles up for grabs. There's 2 lots of a totally tax-free £10,000 in cash. You'll also receive a brand new iPhone 16, along with £500 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite store. And the best news is, 2 lucky winners are going to win. For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. 1 entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB11 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 7th of March. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
Will, please bring us up to date.
or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons,
Very, very curious.
we bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Very good morning, I'm Adam Cherry alongside the wonderful Sophie Reaper. This is Saturday Morning Live.
It is indeed. It's so great to have your company with us this morning, and as always, lots to get through in the next hour. This morning, the government has denied that they're considering slavery reparations. It was previously reported a meeting with Caribbean leaders was on the cards, but this morning, the Foreign Office has told GB News that there's nothing planned. We'll have all the latest.
And a developing story today. Gino D'Acampo's shows are cancelled last minute from the ITV schedule following shocking allegations. Of course, we'll have all the latest on that as well.
And a cold snap is sweeping in across the country, with temperatures set to plummet as low as -7 degrees in Scotland, with a yellow weather warning in place across much of the UK. Our reporter Tony Maguire is out and about in Scotland.
Hello, where better to talk about cold weather and the effects of it than your garden, and what garden could be better than the Royal Botanical Gardens of Edinburgh? I'm here to talk about this cold snap, the last storm, the damage has still been felt, and what comes next, hopefully a warmer spring.
Well, at least he's wrapped up warm now. A huge weekend of sport to look forward to. England and Wales are in action today in the Six Nations, plus it's the eve of the Super Bowl.
And twins Luke and Owen Buckmaster are fresh out of Dragon's Den with investment from Dragon Peter Jones. Ahead of National Pizza Day tomorrow, they'll be joining us in the studio with their stone-baked pizza kits. Can't wait for that.
Fantastic. Of course, we've also got all the day's top stories with columnist Jenny Trent Hughes and former Apprentice star Trey Lowe. Welcome to Saturday Morning Live, only on GB News. Right.
Can't believe we've only got an hour to get through all of that. Dear me.
I don't know if you get. My stomach was rumbling throughout the entirety.
It's been rumbling all morning. Neither of us have eaten yet,
I-
so have to say, very excited for this pizza segment.
I am very excited. But the question is, obviously, and we want to get your views on this as well.
Very controversial. I know what you're going to ask.
Yeah, well, first of all, favourite topping, but also it's the perennial debate, and that is, does pineapple belong on pizza? Now, I've got a chap in my ear saying it does. It's obviously wrong. It does not belong on
Our
pizza.
senior
It does-
producer Katie thinks it does as well, though.
Guys, sort yourselves out. It does not belong on pizza.
Hawaiian pizza as a complete exception.
No.
But if you're having any other form of pizza with pineapple on, it is not for me. But we want to hear what you think about that. And we also want to hear your peak of the week. That is our new segment for Saturday Morning Live. Whatever your highlight has been this week, we want to hear it, so you can send that in to us as well.
gbnews.com/your say, your views, get it all in. We want to hear from you. But first, before we do all of that, of course, Sophia Wensler has all your news headlines.
Adam, Sophie, thank you. Good morning. These are your headlines from the GB newsroom. Hamas has released 3 more Israeli hostages today in the 5th such swap of a fragile ceasefire in Gaza. The hostages are Ohad Ben Ami, Or Levi and Eli Sharabi. In return for the captives' release, Hamas said it expects 183 Palestinian prisoners to be freed. It comes as yesterday Hamas accused Israel of violating the ceasefire deal by delaying the entry of hundreds of aid trucks. The Foreign Office has denied reports it's set to open talks on slavery reparations with Caribbean officials demanding trillions of pounds from the UK. According to the Telegraph newspaper, a meeting could be held as soon as April after Barbados's Prime Minister, Mia Mottley, previously demanded almost £4 trillion from Britain. The Foreign Office has told GB News the story is false and misleading and insists the government's position remains unchanged. But the Foreign Secretary, David Lammy, has previously been vocal in his support. In other news, the King and Queen welcomed celebrities, chefs and diplomats to their Highgrove estate last night to celebrate Italian slow cooking. The dinner, with dishes including crab ravioli and pork, alongside English and Italian wines, comes ahead of their Italian state visit later on in the year. Among the guests for Charles's and Camilla's event were Victoria and David Beckham, Dame Helen Mirren and Stanley Tucci. And the menu honoured a cause close to the King's heart. The tradition of slow cooking promotes the rights to good, clean and fair food for all and strives to preserve traditional and regional cuisine and is championed by the Italians. Now, a mass is taking place at St Mary's Cathedral in Sheffield to remember Harvey Wilgoose, who was stabbed at a school on Monday. And later today, a march will take place throughout the city to remember the 15-year-old and raise awareness of knife crime. The Day of Remembrance will culminate in a minute's silence at Bramall Lane this afternoon before the match between Sheffield United and Portsmouth. All reruns of old Gino D'Acampo shows have been pulled from the ITV schedule after allegations of inappropriate behaviour against the TV chef. A new series of Family Fortunes that was filmed in October 2023 has not been broadcast yet, and as it stands, there are no plans to do so. D'Acampo has been accused of making inappropriate sexual comments while working on a string of ITV programmes since 2011. Gino D'Acampo firmly denies any allegations that have been made against him. To the US now, where President Donald Trump is set to revoke Joe Biden's security clearances and stop his daily intelligence briefings, as there was no need for his predecessor to receive classified information. In a post on Truth Social, Trump said, "Joe, you're fired," as he referenced a report by special counsel Robert Hur that described Biden last year as a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory. A spokesperson for Biden declined to comment. And staying in the US now, the wreckage of a small plane has been found in Alaska after suddenly losing altitude and crashing earlier this week. The Bering Air flight left Unalakleet at 2:38 p.m. on Thursday, but contact was lost less than an hour later, according to the firm's operations. The US Coast Guard said the wreckage was found atop a frozen ice lake. They also confirmed all 10 passengers were killed in the crash. And Bridget Jones's fictional flat has nearly tripled in price since it was featured in the first film in 2001. According to property website Rightmove, Bridget would have snapped up her flat for a mere $186,000 back in the noughties, whereas now it would cost her an eye-watering $549,000. While Bridget Jones, who's played by Renee Zellweger, has not always been lucky in love, she has climbed up the property ladder. In the final film, her home is in London's leafy Hampstead, where the average asking price for a property is £1,548,000. Those are the latest GB News headlines. Now it's back to Adam and Sophie.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Thank you, Sophia Bacci. Sophia, before you go, we just want to ask you if you've got a peak of the week yourself.
Well, do you know what? The whole week's been a bit of a peak for me because I've been off. So I've had a nice, relaxing week at home. So yeah, the whole week, I've got to say, has been pretty good.
Oh, that's nice. I don't think week of the week has got as much of a ring to it. But I'm very jealous, Sophia. I like the sound of a nice week. A week being your whole peak is pretty. It's pretty good, isn't it? A peak week.
There you go.
You've won peak of the week by having a peak week.
I obviously lost.
So there you are.
I lost.
Yeah, Adam. I think we all in the room agreed that you lost.
And then people on your side are saying apparently hash brown doesn't even belong on a full English. Rubbish.
Oh, controversial.
I don't know. Thank you very much for that, Sophia. And keep sending in your peaks of the week as well. We want to have as many as possible, don't we?
Absolutely. Now, moving on to our top story. The Foreign Office has strenuously denied claims that they were considering talks with Caribbean officials over slavery reparations.
Yes, it was reported by the Telegraph newspaper that a meeting could have been held as soon as April after Barbados Prime Minister Mia Mottley previously demanded almost £4 trillion from Britain.
But in the last few hours, a spokesperson has told GB News this story is false and misleading. There is no planned delegation of Caribbean leaders or officials in the spring, and our position remains that we do not pay reparations. Well, joining us now is political commentator Theo Usherwood. Theo, what's gone on here? Because we have seen David Lammy, our Foreign Secretary, when he was in opposition, make overtures towards perhaps engaging with Caribbean countries about reparations. Now seems they're denying and poo-pooing this entire story. So where are we really?
So I think what this story is it's instructive about the view of the UK government under Keir Starmer with his Attorney General, Lord Hermer, that it is possible to do a good deal, not necessarily for the UK, but if you wish to challenge or you find yourself in a negotiation with the British government. And what I mean by that, of course, is what we've seen with the Chagos Islands. Mauritius reportedly set to secure £18 billion or up to £18 billion in that deal where we lease back the Chagos Islands in order to secure the future of Diego Garcia, which is a key military base, not just for us, but for the United States. And obviously what has happened here is that a number of Caribbean nations have got together and they've worked out that this might be a good time to open talks when it comes to reparations for the slave trade. The Telegraph reporting, and it was quite a I think, telling line, that during the 14 years of Conservative government, the Caribbean nations didn't even bother to ask for talks about slavery reparations. But as well as David Lammy talking previously about the need to, open negotiations or when it comes to these reparations, Lord Hermer has also spoken in a podcast saying, and this goes back to 2020, that he thinks actually it might be the case that Britain should pay reparations to the likes of Barbados.
Theo, while we've got you, I just want to talk more broadly about the state of the government. And last week, or actually just a couple of days ago, we heard that the government, or the cabinet rather, was having an away day lasting 4 or 5 hours. No press readout, which is where journalists like you and I get a little bit of a précis of what was discussed. This is all off the books. Does that mean that they're in a little bit more trouble than they're letting on if they're just having these secret meetings? Is it another reset?
Not necessarily a reset, but you're right, I think, to read something into it. Of course, as you know, Adam, you go to lobby usually on a Tuesday lunchtime, just before lunchtime on a Tuesday, and the Prime Minister's spokesman will do what's known in the trade as a readout. He'll say what was talked about at Cabinet. Now, of course, we all know that it's always going to be very much what they want you to know and what's discussed openly amongst Cabinet ministers at that Cabinet meeting. You don't necessarily get the detail of the nitty-gritty of what was discussed, or if anybody was particularly angry at a particular policy in that Cabinet meeting. But it is very unusual that we haven't had anything from this meeting, which I heard had lasted 4 or 5 hours. I heard it had gone up to 6 hours as part of an away day. And I think it's not necessarily about a reset, but I think there's a recognition that there are splits, there are real concerns about, on the one hand, Rachel Reeves saying that she wants to secure economic growth and that she wants to, with a third runway at Heathrow Airport. On the other hand, of course, you've got the likes of Ed Miliband, who's been quite sceptical about a third runway and talked down the prospects and even opposed a third runway at Heathrow Airport. And then Lord Hermer, who's tightened up the legal guidelines when it comes to making decisions, which means that even the smallest decision has to, his office has to be able to run the rule, or lawyers have to be able to run the rule over whether it is a legally sound decision. And there's a real concern that his advice is getting in the way of ministers being able to make decisions which will ensure this country can, for want of a better expression, go gangbusters when it comes to economic growth. And all of this off the back of the decision by the Bank of England on Thursday to cut interest rates. OK, it was by 1/4 point. But when you read into the detail of what the Bank of England was saying, it halved its forecasts for economic growth from 1.5% down to 0.75%. So there's real concern that the whole basis of Rachel Reeves's economic strategy is falling away.
Thea, Usher, we're going to have to leave it there, but thank you very much for joining us live on GB News. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Now, to look through our top stories of the day, we are joined once again by the wonderful Jenny Trent Hughes and Trey Lowe. But before we do that, we want to go back to our brand spanking new segment, which is getting a lot of popularity. Peak of the week. You can email your peak of the week to GB Views. Let's try that again. Yes. You can email your peak of the week gbviews@gbnews.uk. Send your pictures in. Kirsty has sent one in. Kirsty's peak of the week. I'm finally able to sit up long enough to sew after being so ill since May last year. And those watching on television will see the fruits of her labours there, looking fantastic. That has
Thank you so much for sending that, Kirsty, and we're so pleased that you're feeling better. We've had another one in as well from Julie Robbins, who simply says, peak of the week, I got married. Congratulations, Julie. Very happy. So nice to have some really good news on, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Very happy for both of you there. So keep those coming in. GB Views, is it GBViews at GBnews?
GBViews, yeah, so I'm sorting myself out.
That's the one,
yes,
.com. Thank you. But back to yourselves, Jenny and Trey. We've heard your peaks of the week already, but how are you liking our new segment? It's nice, isn't it?
I like this, it forces people to think of the good things that have happened to them this week, which is what I like. Because often there's like doom and gloom news or whatever, but I think your everyday things that happen to everyday people are often very joyful or something to be grateful for, So I like it.
I do 3 a day.
3 peaks of the week a day?
Kind of.
We need to rebrand things. Peak of the morning, peak of the afternoon.
I do. Every night before I go to sleep, I write 3 things that I'm grateful for.
I love that.
That ever happened. Yeah.
I like that.
Shall we get into some news?
Yep.
Yeah.
The Guardian today, surging alcohol-related deaths among over 55s prompts demand for action. We're always hearing this, aren't we? For 1 week we're being told red wine is good for cancer, but then white wine or beer is bad. There's always something, isn't there, when it comes to alcohol? Jenny, should we be drinking or not?
I'm actually quite nervous. So my idea of a wild night out is a large cocktail. And I'm anybody's. You know what I mean? I just cannot. And I'm really, really worried because I'm going up to Rotherham for a couple of days on business. And, there's like all these activities that are going to involve drinking. And I keep saying to them, I don't really drink. Yeah. So first we'll go drink here, we'll go drink there. And I'm thinking,
peak of the weekend.
You don't want me back here next week. So I think that drinking is fine and drinking in moderation, etc.
Yeah.
But I think that we do need to be more honest. So, like, I eat too many cupcakes. I cannot buy a pack of cupcakes. I ate a tin of frosting last week with a spoon.
Wow.
But and I've admitted it to the nation.
You have
and
now
I'm embarrassed and disgraced. But nobody admits how much they really drink. I just had one, I just had 2, and then they end up...
Doctor especially.
Exactly. And then they end up with cirrhosis of the liver. And I think that we need to stop shaming people about how much they drink so that they will be more honest about how much they drink and then whether or not they're drinking in a healthy fashion.
It's all about moderation, surely, isn't it?
It is. I mean, I don't really drink necessarily. I'm 50. I'm going to be a father. I'm really quite bang on when it comes to health. I don't think you need to drink fun. I think when I was younger, DJing in the clubs maybe, but now I think it's almost more fun to be sober. Because you can just let your natural self flow. I mean, for me, it's medical. One of my main reasons why I don't really drink. I want to be the healthiest version I could be. I was diagnosed with pre-diabetes, which is crazy. My dad has it, and I've reversed it just by diet. So I think there should be a lot more emphasis, which there is with the younger generation who barely drink anymore, which is a good thing. Because we're seeing it for a lot of older people. We've got all of this unnecessary medical ramifications of people drinking too much.
It's about taking agency, isn't it?
Yeah, just a bit of moderation.
If, like yourself, you knew that health reasons it would have helped, then don't drink. But if you want to have a drink, have a drink.
If you want to drink and have a bit of fun, it's fine. But I think when people go overboard with it, it's like...
But Trey,
do you need to drink too much to have fun?
Lots of young people, Gen Z, Gen Z, their attitude to it has changed, hasn't it? It's not quite as
well, I think but we also need to be. We also need to be. This is some more of that honesty
Here we go.
stuff.
This is it.
You know, it's not necessarily that everyone that is in that age group is no longer having 17 pints, but they're eating 4 stalks of celery. You know, there's also other ways that people are using to make themselves feel good that are not necessarily
alcohol related,
not necessarily alcohol
but I think
related.
it's so expensive as well for that generation. I mean, maybe in my world, but you'd go out to clubs, it's like £1,000 for a table or a couple, you know. I think that generation just thought, we're not going to get ripped off, so they stopped drinking, so their tastes have changed, which is a good thing. I actually applaud that.
But I think
especially in London,
I think that what people like you and I should be doing is working with people so that they understand that you can make yourself feel good without altering your state of mind.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, Jenny Trey, we're going to leave it there for now, but thank you for joining us. Really much appreciate it. Moving on, because if you fancy your chance to be one of 2 lucky winners in the Great British Giveaway, you're in luck. We have 2 fabulous prize bundles to give away, which contain £500 worth of shopping vouchers each from your favourite store, the latest iPhone 16, and an incredible £10,000 in tax-free cash. Not bad. Here's all the details you need.
Don't miss your chance to be one of 2 big winners in our latest Great British Giveaway, as we have 2 prize bundles that have to be won. First, you'll win a totally tax-free £10,000 in cash to spend however you like. You'll also receive the very latest iPhone 16, and we'll send you on a shopping spree with £500 to spend in your favourite store. For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB11 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 7th of March. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, thank you very much to Trey and Jenny there. Up next, Gino D'Acampo's shows on ITV are being pulled from the schedule. We'll get all the latest on the allegations he's facing next. This is Saturday Morning Live, only on GB News.
I'm Emily Carver. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and this is GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Jonathan, in London, we're hearing that there could be more posties from an Amazon point of view in order to limit or cut carbon emissions, but that they could put more people on foot delivering their parcels.
This is really interesting because more and more people now obviously are using Amazon and buying their shopping online or buying gifts online. And it's interesting that in London they're talking about putting their Amazon workers on foot. There are now parts of the country, I think Milton Keynes is one part of the country, where there's robots delivering parcels, or you'll see these, well, they call them robots. You'll see these little things sort of bundling down the street.
Yes.
Sort of
robots.
Yeah, I mean, technically they're a robot, but when I think of a robot, I think of a sort of...
A humanoid robot.
Yeah, sort of humanoid thing, sort of, Lost in Space style robot. But actually, they're sort of, you know, little sort of carriages, little
droids,
boxes.
like Star Wars droid type.
Well, they're not
thing.
even that. They're like a little sort of, they're like a box on wheels, delivering parcels in places like Milton Keynes and other bits of the country. So I think this is just another example of how the world is changing. Online shopping is completely changing the way in which we all live our lives, the way in things. The way
But
in
I
which
think
things are
Milton
delivered.
Keynes lends itself to something like that. This is a newly designed town, and
exactly. That's why they're in Milton Keynes.
And I really do think that a town like that really does lend itself towards a piece of tech like that. You know, when I think back, our postie in Gloucestershire is a guy called Dave. He's fantastic. Everyone knows who he is. But I'm not sure that he could be replaced by one of these little droid things.
GB News, the People's Channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
I'm Tom Harwood. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Saturday Morning Live. Now, all reruns of Gino D'Acampo's shows have been pulled from the ITV schedule after allegations of inappropriate behaviour against the TV chef.
A new series of Family Fortunes, of which D'Acampo is the host, will now never see the light of day.
Gino D'Acampo has denied any accusation. And joining us now in the studio to chat about it all is showbiz journalist Stephanie Tecci. Stephanie, what's going on here? Is Gino in real trouble?
He's landed himself in hot water with ITV. To be honest, I saw that the nails were coming in the coffin from December when it came out that he had been sidelined from ITV shows and that he refused to sign a morality course with ITV because execs were worried about his language and his behaviour on set. You know, for a very long time, Gino D'Acampo has been built up as almost a cheeky, flirty character. But in this day and age, it kind of backfired on him because, you know, ITV News, they've been working on this investigation where several women and some men have come forward to talk about his behaviour. Some have said it's been sexually aggressive. Some said it's been inappropriate, horrendous, distressing. And in this day and age now, once you've got a character like that, similar with Greg Wallace now, they feel it's not suitable to have such people on camera. You know, I want to play a bit of devil's advocate here because I do think our viewers really bothered seeing such a person on TV after these allegations. He's denied all of these allegations and it's almost like you have to say innocent to proven guilty. But ITV, this is a broadcaster who's faced so much scandal from Philip Schofield. So now they are protecting their own backs and they're not giving any room for controversy.
I think we've just got a right of reply that we can read out in this. So in response to the claims, Gino D'Acampo's legal team has said Mr D'Acampo categorically denies these allegations of inappropriate sexual behaviour.
A separate response from ITV said the broadcaster was not made aware of the original concerns in 2018 and they said ITV is completely committed to creating an environment where everyone is respected, where everyone is treated with respect and feels able to give their best. We can categorically confirm that this kind of behaviour is not tolerated by ITV.
Well, what is the future then, Steph? Because we've seen now multiple presenters axed from air, not just for ITV, we should hasten to add. But what is the future then? How do we go about having TV presenters who perhaps aren't going to be axed?
Well, I think the problem is now society's attitudes have changed because most of these cases date back to 12 years ago where it wouldn't have been a big scandal as it is now. So I think going forward, broadcasters are really going to have to manage their on-air talent and kind of in a way discipline them a bit, which takes out the fun from people's personalities if that's how they freely think they are. So I think broadcasters are now going to have to sit with their talent and make sure that they're not doing anything offensive and to try downplay any controversies that can happen in the future. But I do feel it needs to be done because we're not going to be left with any TV talent in the future if things like this are striking up big cases for broadcasters.
Should we just move on quickly to talk about the royal news? What can you tell us about what happened yesterday?
King Charles hosted a lovely Anglo Italian-themed dinner, four-course dinner. This, of course, marks him and the Queen's visit to Italy in April, where they'll be meeting the Pope. And for the King, you know, he's very passionate about sustainability, and this actually ventures into slow food. So yesterday they had a four-course dinner, which was made of all British ingredients, but it was made via Italian traditional methods, and it was inspired by the actor Stanley Tucci. It was a celebrity affair. We had the Beckhams there, we had Donatella Versace there as well. So it really is marking and building upon those Anglo and Italian ties.
I must say, the food sounded absolutely lovely, didn't it? I mean, we've got National Pizza Day we're marking at the end of the show. I can't imagine that they just ordered in a pizza, did they?
They had ravioli, they had crab, they had sparkling wine. When I was reading all the list, my mouth was watering. I was like, I wish I was there. They feasted like a king. As the king,
as you would expect.
Absolutely.
Oh, dearie me.
Well,
and that visit's in April, just to...
It's the visit's in April, and also it ties in with the King's and Queen's 20th wedding anniversary, so I do think it will be a special affair. And obviously the King is quite passionate about the Pope as well, so it'll be interesting to see their visit to the Vatican as well.
Stephanie, before we let you go, can I ask you, what's your peak of the week? It's a new segment.
I feel like you'll have a great one. Your Instagram is always a plethora of amazing things.
Somewhere. Where was my peak of the week? I actually liked covering the celebrity bear hunt premiere. It was a red carpet. It's about this new series with Bear Grylls chasing all these celebrities in Costa Rica. So I enjoyed seeing him abseiling down Leicester Square. That was a peak. And getting my hair done as well.
Two different sides of the coin there. Very nice. I thought you were going to say the Bridget Jones premiere. That's all you went to.
Oh my gosh,
she's forgotten it.
I've forgotten about it. I was crying
You've
so
had a
much
brilliant
in that
week.
movie. Bridget Jones, definitely peak of the week.
Oh, well,
thank you for reminding me, Sophie.
Well, that's I follow your Instagram closely. Well, that's premiering next week, isn't it?
It is. It comes out on February 13th, and I think our viewers are going to love it. If you
I think we'll speak to you about that next week.
We are going to be talking about Jones.
Thank you so much, Steph. Some great peaks of the week there.
Yes, keep sending them in. We've got a lot more to come. Now, lots more on the show, of course, but first we need to get all the latest news headlines with Sophia Wensler.
Adam, Sophie, thank you. These are your headlines at 11:30. Israel has begun releasing Palestinian prisoners after Hamas freed 3 more Israeli hostages this morning in the 5th such swap of a fragile ceasefire in Gaza. The hostages are Ohad Ben Ami, Or Levi and Eli Sharabi. In return for the captives' release, Hamas is expecting 183 Palestinian prisoners to be freed. It comes as yesterday Hamas accused Israel of violating the ceasefire deal by delaying the entry of hundreds of aid trucks. The Foreign Office has denied reports it's set to open talks on slavery reparations, with Caribbean officials demanding trillions of pounds from the UK. According to the Telegraph newspaper, a meeting could be held as soon as April, after Barbados's Prime Minister, Mia Mottley, previously demanded almost £4 trillion from Britain. The Foreign Office has told GBNews the story is false and misleading and insists the government's position remains unchanged. But the Foreign Secretary, David Lammy, has previously been vocal in his support. In other news, a mass is taking place at St Mary's Cathedral in Sheffield to remember Harvey Wilgoose, who was stabbed at school on Monday. And later today, a march will take place throughout the city to remember the 15-year-old and raise awareness of knife crime. The Day of Remembrance will culminate in a minute's silence at Bramall Lane this afternoon before the match between Sheffield United and Portsmouth. All reruns of old Gino D'Acampo shows have been pulled from the ITV schedule after allegations of inappropriate behaviour against the TV chef. A new series of Family Fortunes that was filmed in October 2023 has not been broadcast yet, and as it stands, there are no plans to do so. D'Acampo has been accused of making inappropriate sexual comments while working on a string of ITV programmes since 2011. Gino D'Acampo firmly denies all allegations that have been made against him. And Bridget Jones's fictional flat has nearly tripled in price since it was featured in the first film in 2001. According to property website Rightmove, Bridget would have snapped up her flat for a mere £186,000 back in the noughties, whereas now it would cost her an eye-watering $549,000. While Bridget Jones, who's played by Renée Zellweger, has not always been lucky in love, she has climbed up the property ladder. In the final film, her home is in London's leafy Hampstead, where the average asking price for a property is £1,548,000. Those are the latest GB News headlines. More in half an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Hello there, this is your latest GB News weather update provided by the Met Office. It is a rather dull and drab start to the weekend for many of us. We've got high pressure situated across Scandinavia that's acting as a blocking system, and it's allowing these areas of low pressure just to push into the very far south, providing some outbreaks of rain and drizzle in places today, a few showers skirting in across other eastern coastal areas as well. There is a potential for some winteriness in amongst all of this, hill snow generally, but to lower levels we may see a touch of sleet in places. As all of this system continues to push its way northwards, we may just start to see a few sunnier spells developing across the very far southeast of England later on in this afternoon period. But underneath the cloud, it is going to be feeling rather cold for many of us, temperatures struggling much above 4 or 5 degrees Celsius in places. The best of the sunshine today is certainly going to be reserved for areas further towards the northwest, particularly for parts of western Scotland. Quite a nice sunny day to come here. But where we'll hold on to those clear skies overnight, we do bring the risk of some fog patches developing, but also quite a sharp frost forming again across northwestern Scotland, potentially as low as -8 degrees Celsius in the most sheltered rural spots. We could also see some patchy frost across the far south of England as well, where we see those clear spells just holding on throughout the night as well. If you do hold on to the cloud though, temperatures will generally be more on the positive side of the temperature scale, 3 or 4 degrees Celsius. As we head throughout Sunday, it is a reasonably similar day overall. Again, there's going to be quite a lot of cloud, particularly across the central areas, with the best of the sunshine reserved for the northwest, but also now into parts of the southwest as well. Devon and Cornwall seeing a brighter and sunnier day here. It is once again going to be feeling particularly cold underneath that cloud, and with the outbreaks of rain still in play, 6 or 7 degrees Celsius, but with a bitingly easterly wind moving its way in, it's going to be feeling even colder than that. And we hold on to a very similar pattern into the start of the new week as well. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. Maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning and welcome back to Saturday Morning Live. Now, has the temperature plummeted near you? Maybe you're one of the many people waking up to sub-zero conditions. Thankfully, I'm in London, so I didn't.
Not too bad here, a
No.
little bit drizzly. But nonetheless, the Met Office has issued a yellow cold weather warning for many areas, with snow and ice forecast until Tuesday. So let's find out what the weather's like in in Edinburgh, apologies, in Edinburgh, with our reporter, Tony Maguire. Tony, what's the latest? Wrapped up warm there, I see.
Yeah, good morning. Yeah, you got to dress for the weather, but this is kind of almost built on to every person from Scotland, I think, during the months of winter. It's been chilly start. It's a bit chillier than average start to February after a couple of weeks of warmth earlier on. So, the drop in temperature is taking some people by surprise. But I will say that this kind of huge pressure system that's over the Nordics and in Russia, well, that was being tagged as another beast from the east, and it's obviously not quite turned out that way. That's not to say it's not of a concern. There's certain regions down in England who have those yellow weather cold weather health warnings, but certainly not so much of an issue up here. I have, however, come over to Edinburgh because behind me you can see the tallest tree that was in the Royal Botanic Garden in Edinburgh, and this is snapped in half just a couple of weeks ago when Storm Ailwyn tore through the country. And this is obviously, when we consider obviously really bad weather, this is it. And a couple of weeks later you can see the trailer devastation still being dealt with up here. But that's not to say it's all negative. You know, spring, I'd like to think, is just around the corner a few weeks from now. Well, the sun will set at 6 p.m. and all around the Royal Botanic Garden in Edinburgh, there's beautiful signs of all these kind of snowy snowdrops coming out in your various spring plants. So a good indicator, if you look out the window at home, that you might just see the first sign of spring shooting out.
Tony Maguire, thank you so much. I think you know it's cold when you see a real Scotsman wearing a scarf and gloves. That's when you know the temperatures have dropped.
Yeah. Stay warm out there, Tony. Stay warm. Thank you for joining us. All the best. You know, when the clocks change in March, that's when you know you're through the worst of it, don't you?
Yeah.
The light at the end of the tunnel. Anyway, let's move on now because we've got the wonderful Aidan McGee with us to tell us all the latest in the world of sport. Aidan, what's going on in the Six Nations? Because England are playing tonight, aren't they?
They are indeed. They've got France at Twickenham. Before that, Wales travel to Rome. I want to touch on Wales first of all because they've lost 13 matches in a row. This was a side that won the Six Nations in 2022. The drop-off has been absolutely catastrophic in the sporting sense.
What's happened?
I think they're kind of afflicted by some of the problems that England are afflicted with. I don't think the domestic competition is strong enough to provide players that are suitable to that level now. The level of international rugby is so high. It's almost the opposite situation you've got in football. The domestic game, our Premier League, is certainly more prestigious and more, you know, it produces better players, a better quality of competition than you'll see in your average World Cup, especially in the group stages. But in rugby, it's certainly the reverse. And there have been problems at board level as well with the Welsh Rugby Union. And look, sometimes it's a smaller nation, sometimes you have decent players, a decent pool, other times not so much. Warren Gatland, nothing wrong with the coach, plenty of pedigree, but he doesn't seem to be able to get a tune out of them at the moment. But today, they really have to try and win that because they're, you know, how many times do you have to win the wooden spoon before people start saying, should you really be in the tournament? That's what was said mostly for years. Now, don't get me wrong, Wales are not quite at that level yet. They're not winning it year after year after year. But if they win it a second year, take it a second year running, that's extremely worrying for them. And then as for England, 1 win in 7 matches, 8 defeats in the last 13 of Steve Borthwick's 29 matches in charge. They've only won 14. This is uncharted territory for England. I don't remember England being quite that bad. If you look at the number of matches 9 wins out of 26 Nations matches, 4 of those wins were against Italy, who for most of that period have been deemed the worst team in the world. They've got some 1 or 2 injury problems. Caden Murley, the guy who scored the try last week, the only try in Dublin, is out with a foot injury. And so there are some things to ponder, and I would say that Steve Borthwick has to get a result at some point. Now, the problem is he's up against certainly the best side the favourites of this tournament in France, just maybe slightly ahead of Ireland, but a top side with Antoine Dupont, who's an absolutely imperious player, widely considered to be the best in the world. They've got their work cut out today at Twickenham.
Well, the last time France were at Twickenham, they gave England a bit of a battering, didn't they?
Massive hiding, 53-10. I think they ran in 6 tries in that match. And so, historically, France haven't travelled to Twickenham that well, but of late, they're just brushing them aside. So that's ominous today, no question about it.
So work cut out for England today. Let's move on to the football, because there's a lot of cup football going on. The Virtue Trophy, we've got the Champions League, and we've got the FA Cup. I want to speak about that first, because we saw United beat Leicester last night. Very controversial 93rd minute goal for Harry Maguire, wasn't it? A lot of controversy about VAR not being used in that particular round. Yeah, I mean, it's not used in the 3rd and 4th round, largely because a lot of the teams involved, going back to the amateur roots of the FA Cup, don't have VAR set up in their stadium. I'm not really sure how difficult it is to put it into practice, because later on in the rounds, even if you're from non-league, you will have to have it, because it does have to be in use from the 5th round onwards. But last night, 5 players were offside, we counted. Leicester players were offside when Harry Maguire nodded in that 93rd minute winner. No wonder
the Leicester manager, Ruud van Nistelrooy, who's a United legend, of course, managed the club earlier in the season and beat Leicester twice, funnily enough, as Man United manager, both at Old Trafford. And no wonder he was furious afterwards, because he said it's not even about VAR. He said the competency of the officials is in question here. And that's quite a brave thing for a manager to say, because they get fined on account of those sort of things these days for calling into the question the integrity of the officials, or even the competence. But if you look at 5 players offside, one of them was about half a metre offside. It shouldn't need VAR to be able to root this out and actually say, look, that shouldn't have been a goal. And to concede that late as well, when you brought, a couple of thousand fans up to the stadium and you're in the FA Cup and it's a nice reprieve from the troubles that both clubs actually have had in the Premier League this season, it's deeply frustrating. And it highlights why we probably did need VAR in the first place, despite all the critics.
A lot more FA Cup games today and tomorrow as well. What are we expecting?
Well, Millwall played Leeds at 12:15, so that's underway quite soon. That's quite a feisty one. 2 championship clubs. Millwall have improved the last couple of weeks. Leeds, not sure how much of a priority the FA Cup will be. They're top of the Championship. They really want to get that done. They have to be back in the Premier League. It's as simple as that. But a free hit for Millwall in some ways. They normally do quite well at that ground. And we've got Chelsea-Brighton later on tonight at 8 o'clock. And a real eye-catcher at Brisbane Road, just East London, just about 6-7 miles away from where we are now. Leyton Orient against Manchester City. I can't recall those two playing each other.
I was going to say.
Not in my lifetime.
Should be a City win.
I would have thought so, yeah. But you never know. You never know. Sometimes you can raise it on the game. And who can trust Manchester City to get jobs done this season? I'm not sure you really can. And then City, of course, in action against Real Madrid in the week.
I'll be there.
Yeah, you will
I'll be there at the Etihad.
Fantastic.
Yeah, my first ever Champions League.
Third year in a row they've played one another, and I would suggest at this stage that there's not much left for City on a really high level to play for in the remainder of the season. But that does offer an opportunity. There's no pressure on them, which has not been the case in previous years. And who knows? They've got the players to do it. There's no question about it.
Well, as I'm going as a home fan, I will, of course, be cheering for Man City. There we are. Thank you so much for joining us, as always, Aidan. Still to come, we'll be joined in the studio by twins Luke and Owen Buckmaster, who are fresh out of Dragon's Den. They'll be bringing their stone-baked pizza kits for us to try ahead of National Pizza Day tomorrow.
But first, if you're in search of some winter sun, I know Tony Maguire is, here is the forecast for some of the top European holiday destinations.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you're looking for some winter sun, Spain wouldn't be a bad shout. Fine, at least for Sunday. Unsettled in Italy and reasonably breezy in Greece. We've seen that quite frequently recently, and with some showers to boot. But across Italy, well, that's where some more unsettled weather is heading, especially in the west, the north, and then Sicily through Sunday and into Monday. Iberia, fine for now, but it will turn more showery from the west as the week begins.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Lots to come. We'll be speaking to twin brothers about National Pizza Day tomorrow. Don't go anywhere. This is Saturday Morning Live.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Feathers McGraw, Wallace and Gromit's their villain, has become an unlikely hit at UK tattoo parlours. He's menacing.
He is, yeah.
And he's,
and in fact, he doesn't speak, and he's got this glove on top of his head trying to convince us he's a chicken or something.
And that is a real tattoo that someone has decided to have there. What do you two think about tattoos? Are they express themselves? Or?
I love it. So I've basically got Dr. King.
There we go.
Me.
Oh, there he goes.
Nice.
He's showing us.
If you can't fly, run.
Nice.
It's probably slightly more meaningful than having the villainous England.
Oh, come on, Trey, you want to get Feathers McGraw?
Maybe not. It's kind of got that kind of, when you go abroad and Tenerife and you get a quick tattoo. It's looking like that, or like a pirate or something. It's kind of got that vibe, not for me. However, I do get the sentimentality around it. Some people have grown up on Wallace and Gromit and they love it and it has meaning. And he is a well-written character, so I get it.
Brilliant, isn't it?
I prefer my tattoos a bit more meaningful.
Bit more, yeah. I feel like as well,
there's a surge in it. Lots of people have had it, but then is it then going to become unpopular because of it? And how many people regret the
Then you're in
tattoos?
trouble.
Apparently,
Buyer's
not
remorse.
14% of people regret tattoos.
Wow.
See, I think that's where the meaningful side comes into it. I've got a couple of meaningful tattoos, and I know I will never get
Hidden
bored
ones?
of them. Not one on my wrist, one on my ankle. They're not hidden, but yeah, I think because they mean something to me, I'll never get bored.
Yes, exactly. I think that's important. If you're gonna, a tattoo's for life, isn't it?
That's the thing.
It's got to mean
I haven't got
something.
anything.
Have you not?
I'll be indecisive. I
There's
think I'll
nothing
get
you
something.
thought I want to keep on my body forever.
If I had about 6 or 7 pints and then stumbled into a tattoo parlor,
you'd come out with
something
that.
chaotic.
I'd be able to pronounce
a disaster. Yeah, a disaster could happen. Then I walk out. And, oh no, I've got this for the rest of my life.
You might become addicted.
Well, let's hope not.
Some people do.
Covered in them.
GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking,
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
down to earth,
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
and most importantly, honest,
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Welcome back. Now, ahead of National Pizza Day tomorrow, Adam and I thought it would be rude for us not to get a slice of the action.
Slice, that's very good, Sophie, very good. Now, who better to celebrate with us than the latest stars of Dragon's Den, who have just secured a huge investment from Dragon Peter Jones for their DIY pizza kit business.
Yes, twins Luke and Owen founded Doughboys Pizza when they were 19 and have gone from strength to strength, and they join us now in the studio. Thank you for joining us, gents.
Thanks for having us.
Chaps, look at what we've got here. So everyone on watching at home can see we've got the whole selection here. I've already spotted there's a ham and mushroom there. Fantastic.
We've just been fighting during the break who gets to take what home. I'm very excited about a spicy salami pizza fancy tonight.
No.
Yeah, the producers are trying to get in on the action as well.
Yeah.
So as soon as you're out of here, you're going to have a fight on your hands.
Battle, dearie me.
Should we talk a little bit more seriously about the business and what it's like to appear on Dragon's Den? Because I find that so interesting.
I'd be terrified. You're so brave.
It was a terrifying experience. We've never done anything like it before. So yeah, for our small business to go on there was pretty unreal.
How much did Peter Jones invest?
So Peter invested 90,000 for 10%. We went in asking for 5%, but we met in the middle at 10. So
did you walk in knowing you might have to negotiate? You know that he might try and push you a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's kind of expected when you go on the show. So we were a little bit flexible, but we did want him.
We're looking at you, pictures of you on the show there now on the monitor. Look at you there, smiling away. Must have been a positive experience because you look well. Clearly was because you got them. So you got some money.
Yeah. Yes. That photo was taken after. So that was after we got the deal where we were slightly relieved.
Before then, you were shaking in your boots a little bit.
Totally on edge. 3 hours of filming, so
3 hours.
Just for your segment.
Just for ours, and it's totally unscripted. We don't have any notes. We have to remember all our figures, our numbers, product information, sales, all sorts.
So tell us a little bit about the business itself. What were you pitching to these guys?
Yeah, so Doughboys Pizza, we are a premium Italian pizza business. We have different parts of our business, but to date, the most sort of biggest part of the business has been supplying our pizza products to the hospitality sector. So that's pubs, restaurants, hotels, stadiums, and things like that. But then over recent years, we've also kind of diversified into retail, having our frozen pizza range, as you can see here. And then very, very recently, we've also launched pizza kits, which are sort of meal kits for consumers to make at home.
And I think can I see some of the bases perhaps?
So these are the bases we use in our pizza kits.
There we go. See, holding that up.
Try and keep it steady. But as you can see, we've got all of them are made in Italy, hand stretched, part stone baked. So you get like a nice bubbly structure, just like you kind of expect.
This is my favourite kind of pizza, I have to say, like that particular kind of pizza. I hope you don't find this patronising, but you both, well, you're twins, so obviously they're the same age, but you're very young.
Yeah, absolutely.
To have such an empire already.
Oh, no, totally. It's been quite the journey, but yeah, we actually started this when we were 19, 19 years old. However, it didn't go to plan because of COVID. So shortly after we first started the company, we actually stopped it and we didn't trade for the first sort of 18 months. We got part-time jobs, and then yeah, it was sort of towards the end of lockdown that we actually thought we'd give it another shot and we'll just see how it goes. And since then, it's just kind of completely taken off.
So Peter Jones' investment.
Yes.
2 questions. First of all, where's that cash going to go? What are you going to spend that on? And second, what's his involvement with the business been like so far? Is he hands-on?
So we haven't actually signed the paperwork yet, but they have been really supportive. It's a long process after, do a lot of due diligence, but the team have been so supportive. He's got a really good team behind him. But for us, I think the money is focusing on sales and marketing. It's something that we haven't actually done to date. All of our sales have just come naturally, just, I guess, word of mouth and people liking the products and telling other people. So we really think that we can grow even faster if we actually maybe get a sales team and start putting some more into marketing. Yeah, and whilst we're just finalising the contract now, we've already got, we've got a plan for the first thing to do is to sit down with Peter himself and his wider team and to basically just look at the business as a whole, put together a better plan, a better strategy, and to see where we should be focusing all our energy on first. So, yeah, can't wait for that, really.
Yeah.
We are running out of time, but I just want to ask, why pizza? Have you got some kind of family link to Italy, or is it just just love pizza? No, but I mean, why? At age 19, what made you suddenly say we're going to launch a pizza business? What was that about?
We just love pizza, and at the time we were working within the hospitality sector, and people were struggling with food options. So we're helping our friend out, and pizza was an easy solution. And yeah, we kind of built the business on that, and then off the back of that, we kind of diversified then beyond that. So, yeah.
Are these all of the available toppings? So
these are our retail range.
The full menu of the retail range?
Yeah, we've got a new one coming soon, which is a salami, which is a bit more like a pepperoni, which is obviously very popular in the UK. And then our pizza kits, we've got a whole range of different meat toppings and vegetable toppings, and even vegan ones. So
lovely.
Even vegan.
Crucially, no.
That is a crucial question. Is there ever any chance of pineapple?
We'll have to try and persuade our manufacturer.
Guys, I'm afraid, because we've got to go. Thank you for joining us on Saturday Morning Live. Dawn Neeson is up next. Thank you, and we'll see you again this time next week.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers. Sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good afternoon to you. This is your GB News weather updates provided by the Met Office. Grey is the main colour on offer for many of us this weekend, with widely grey skies. High pressure across Scandinavia is currently blocking these smaller areas of low pressure from moving much beyond the UK, and so these are continuing to bring outbreaks of rain, drizzle, showers in places. They could be wintry with some hill snow in places. There will be a few clear spells around this evening and overnight, mainly for the far south of England, but more widely for northern Scotland into parts of Northern Ireland as well. If you do see the clear spells overnight, though, it is going to turn quite chilly with some frost around, potential for some fog, maybe icy stretches as well on untreated surfaces. Despite the cold start across northern Scotland, though, it is here where we're going to see some of the lengthy spells of sunshine throughout the day. That will help compensate with the feel of things, at least once any of that fog does clear its way off. For more central areas from Northern Ireland into England,